Happy Franklin Method Faculty Friday. I'm Shannon Murphy. Thank you for joining me. Alongside my Franklin Method practices, I'm also a dancer and dance educator. And as I prepare to transition back into big studios, gathering with lots of people, I'm noticing a real desire for balance during this transition. So I teach in multiple universities here in Philadelphia and in New Jersey, and I'm noticing that that is a sort of commonality between my colleagues as well as the students as we're re-entering. So today's practice is going to be using a TheraBand, a Franklin Method band that is especially long. It's 11 feet long. And we're gonna do just a quick little introduction to some conditioning for dance through the Franklin Method. So to begin, before we get into the conditioning work, let's just take a moment to do a quick little Franklin Method warm-up. So just find a moment to check in with yourself. You may even want to close your eyes. And now I'm going to be focusing on physical sensations that show up in my body. What do I notice about myself today? What sensations are present? Blinking the eyes open if they were closed. Let's take our fingers to our sternum, and you might notice it's already impacting my breath, my voice. So if you want to join me, make a little sigh, and we'll tap all over the rib cage, continuing on into our back space, back low ribs. I'm gonna go ahead and tap one shoulder. And I'm gonna continue down my arms. And as I'm tapping, I'm gonna take a look so I can start to see my arm gesturing through space as I'm giving it a little tap. I'm gonna go ahead and bring that right across my chest to the other shoulder. And I like to invite in just a gentle movement. So if it feels good to stretch or yawn or roll the shoulder, go right ahead. And then again, down the arm, and I'm taking a look at my arm. Wow, okay, these are the fingertips. This is the palm, the elbow. And bringing that back towards the chest again. Let's drop the arms, give them even a little shake. And while we're shaking arms, let's bring in a little shake of the muscles. So I'm just letting my muscles feel wiggly and wobbly on my bones. I'm noticing a real elasticity in the feeling of my legs. That's what I'm looking for, like elastic muscles that can wobble and rebound. Maybe even a shake of the pelvis. Can you get the glutes on both sides to shimmy shake for a minute there? A little bounce. I'm gonna bring my hands with gentle fists to my lower back, bend my knees, give my lower back a little tap, and then I'm gonna swing my tail forward and back as I do this. And then I'm gonna continue down my glutes, and I'm gonna tap down my legs. So the outsides, the fronts, the backs, the insides. If you don't like forward folding, you put your foot up on something. I'm gonna do that for the camera. So I'm just tapping. And you can experiment with the pressure of the tap, light to sort of a dense tap. All the way down to the foot, tapping the toes, the arch, the heel. I'm gonna make my way back on up. I'm gonna cross from one hip crease over to the other, and then I'm gonna continue there on the other side, giving the legs a nice little wake up this morning. So again, front side back. And I'm just kind of taking stock. Is there anywhere in the leg that feels like it needs a little more vibration, needs a little more touch? Paying attention to those messages, giving my body what it needs. Down to toes, arch, heel. And then making my way back up one more time to my hip crease. And I'm across, maybe even soft fists on both hip creases for a second. Let's take a demi-plie or a knee bend in parallel. I'm gonna let that tapping soften and just find the creases of my hips here. So I'm using the pinky finger to find my hip creases there. So if you've been practicing Franklin method and you have a really clear image of the inside of the hip joint, that's gonna be good for us to bring into the band work. If we're more new, we haven't really explored this, just find that crease and go to about the middle and just march the leg a little bit there. Notice if you can feel like a nice deep crease in the hip as we flex and march our leg. Okay, take a moment, scan over yourself one more time. What sensations are present now? I'm noticing a subtle shift in my posture, and I feel a little lighter on my feet. So you might want to define for yourself, like, what are you noticing exactly? And then go ahead and grab your band. So what we'll do is we're gonna make a loop on one side of the band, and now I'm gonna place this, I'll mirror you, on your left foot. All right, so we're gonna put this over our left arch, and then I'm gonna find a gentle first position or some external rotation. So I'm not going for an extreme shape here, I'm going for ease and support. And then I'm gonna take my Franklin method band, I'm gonna take it behind my ankles, in front of my shins. I'm gonna be very cautious here that I make sure the band goes under my knee, and then I go behind my thighs, in front of my thighs, and around my hips. So we're sort of wrapped up in a big spiral here. Go ahead and experiment what that demi-plie maybe feels like with the resistance of the band. It almost feels like a hug. I'm getting a little hug. So let's start here by imagining, okay, I'm taking a plie, I'm pressing into the band, and then the band is sort of hugging me back to center, almost as if the stretch of my legs doesn't take much effort at all. The band is doing it for me. So we're gonna press into the band, and the band carries us back. Pressing out into the band carries us back. You can play with your tempo here, really letting the band carry you back, or maybe resisting against the band ever so gently as you come back to stretch the legs. Yeah, a few more times there. Cool. Okay, so let's see if we could take a little demi-plie, tilt your trunk forward a little bit, reach back, and see if you notice your sit bones on either side there. Yeah, so I'm gonna imagine, if you find your sit bones and come back up, notice how where they're oriented now. Mine are more or less down towards the floor. And I'm gonna imagine the orientation of my sit bones spreading out to the side as I bend, and then gathering back. So as if this fan is representing the space between my sit bones, as I take my demi-plie, my sit bones are gonna get further apart, and then narrow back together. Could you feel that with the resistance of the band? Yeah, as the sit bones spread, they kind of have to press into the band, similar to our shins against the band, huh? And then come back up. Maybe I can use that feeling, spreading the sit bones and almost letting the feeling of the recoiling band bringing my sit bones closer together. Spreading apart, bringing them close together. Nice work, y'all. So let's continue on here. We're going to take a little activation for the foot. So bringing the, let's see, I'm mirroring you. So the right leg into demi-point. And just in kind of a slow motion fashion, what does it feel like to articulate the toes and sort of find that prancing happening against the band? Whoa, right? Yeah, okay, let's come back to that demi-plie. So we'll take a demi-plie and we'll do a demi-point, press against the band, nice and soft, and come back down. So I'm gonna use a little external imagery here for our foot. After I articulate the toes and leave the ground, what does it feel like if I'm almost like reaching for some blades of grass, like I'm in a field, softly finding my toes, and then pressing my foot gently into the earth. So I'm gonna peel my foot back up off the ground, leaving the blades of grass, letting my toes maybe even wiggle, combing through the blades of grass there, and then reach for the blades of grass, find the toes, and articulate through the foot. One more time, nice and slow like that. Yeah. Okay, let's add an image for this hip joint over here, right? So we found our hip crease earlier, and we found our sit bones a moment. So if you can bring your finger back to the middle of that hip crease, and maybe even reach back, find the sit bone. If we could kind of imagine where these 2 points of our fingers would meet, so in from the middle of the hip crease and up from the sit bone, could you sort of imagine the hip joint moving from there? Now, standing leg, what if we were to envision sort of our weight pouring through a funnel? Almost like the funnel is my femur head in the socket, right? And so I can imagine maybe sand pouring through this funnel as I do this exercise, or maybe water pouring through, so that the weight of my body comes on down, goes through my hip joint, continues down my leg, through my foot, and into the floor. So even though my standing leg looks still, I'm imagining my weight moving through my body as a constant action. Yeah, maybe that helped a little bit. Now we've been moving nice and slow. I'm gonna change it up. Let's add a little speed today. So we're gonna go a 1, a 2, a 3 with a plie, and a 1, 2, 3. And now I'm really using that reband of the band to spring me up onto my standing leg. One more time, 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's take the band off. Doopy doopy doo. And just notice what your first position feels like. What does standing feel like? I'll be honest, I feel a little more organized, a little lighter in my pelvis. Let's take a demi-plie. Almost like I can remember the band carrying me back. And then maybe the moment you know is coming, go ahead and take that foot off the floor. Ah, very nice. I feel like I have a very nice floaty foot now, floaty leg. So not only does this give me the sensation of a nice light leg to be working with as I really focusing on my foundations, returning into the dance studio, then I can recall this sort of light floaty leg as I'm in class, right? As I'm maybe improvising, working. We have that sensation now to work from. So let's quickly do the other side, friends. Take your band, place the band around your right arch. Bring yourself into a first position with ease. Take the band behind your calves and in front of your shins. Make sure it's below your kneecap, everyone. Behind your thighs. In front of your thighs, around your waist. And we're gonna move a little quicker on this side. So we're gonna first just take a series of demi-pliés. What does that feel like? Yeah, if it's too much resistance, go ahead and loosen the band. Right, you should be able to move in the same quality with the band as you'd like to perform without the band. Yeah, and so now I'm really relying on that elasticity of the band. It's like I'm bringing that into my body. Yeah, the band is around my legs, but what if the band was more like my legs? Stretching and recoiling. Whoa, and then the next image was sit bones. So imagining the sit bones spreading and widening. Ooh, that's kind of a cool thought I just had. That feeling of this stretchy band between my sit bones. So as I plie, it's almost like I have a trampoline underneath me, whoom, recoiling me back. Oh, I can feel that would be a good preparation for a jump. Yeah, and now we'll take a little prance. So just maybe the first couple times, just feeling the toes spread. I used that external image of standing in a field. Can you feel the toes spread into the ground? And then as if we're gonna leave the grass, wiggle the toes through the grass even. Reach for the grass. Oh, okay, there it is. And then softly let my foot meet the earth. The softness of the soil maybe is present. You can get as intricate with the image as you want, as long as it's benefiting the movement. So now I'm gonna find these prances, and I'm noticing my left leg is not as stable as my right against the band. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that funnel feeling. So I'm gonna find my hip crease, I'm gonna find my sit bone, up from my sit bone, in from my hip crease. Can I feel the center there? That's where the weight of my trunk is gonna pour through as I shift my weight to one leg. Oh, that's already better. I already feel more stable. Thinking about it as an action, the weight's pouring through. The weight's pouring through my hip joint. Maybe you feel that too. Let's speed it up a little bit. I don't know. 1, 2, 3, plie. 1, 2, plie. 1, 2, plie. And a 1 and a 2 and plie. And a 1 and a 2 and plie. And a 1 and a 2 and plie. Last time. Boo, 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 boo. All right, let's take that band off. And then of course we need to take a moment to reap the benefits of working with a little resistance. So what do you notice in your plie? What do you now notice? Wow. How about gesturing the leg? Yeah, ooh, feels nice, yeah. All right, I hope that is helpful for you. I would love to hear in the comments what you noticed in your plie and your foot warm up. Enjoy the dancing, friends. Enjoy the imagery. Until next time, bye-bye.